Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So let's begin. So everybody has the handout in front of them, or they. If not, I'll read it out to you. We're going to begin with the very start of this week's Parshat, which is Parshat Vayishlach. Why is it called Vayishlach? Well, Vayishlach means that, and he sent, because as you're going to see, Yaakov engages in an act of mitigation. We'll discover this. Vayishlach-Yaakov malachim lefanav el Esav achiv artzos seir sedei Edom. Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esav his brother, artzos seir, to the land of Seir, sedei Edom, to the fields of Edom. Vayitzavosam lemar, and he commanded them, saying, Koso merun ladoni Esav. This is what you should say to my master. This is what you should say to Esav. Omar Avdecha Yaakov im Lavan Garti va'echar ad ata. I've dwelt with Lavan and I've tarried there until now. Vayili shor v'chamor tzon ve'eved v'shivcha ve'eshlachol lahagid la'adoni limtochein be'inecha. I have oxen, I have donkeys, I have flocks of sheep, I have servants, I have maidservants, and I now send them to you to declare to my master and to find favor in your eyes. So I'm giving you gifts. Vayushuvu hamalachim el Yaakov lemor, and the messengers, the messengers came back to Yaakov saying, Banu el achicha el Esav. We came to your brother, we came to Esav. V'gam holech likrasecha. He's also coming to meet you. V'arba meos ish imo, and there are 400 men with him. Vayira Yaakov ma'od vayitzer lo. Yaakov was greatly afraid, and this greatly distressed him. Vayachatz es ha'am asher ito, and so he divided the people, or his camp that was with him. Ve'es hatzon ve'es habakar v'hagamolim l'shnei machanos, as well as the sheep, as well as the cattle, as well as the camels, into two separate encampments. Vayomer, and he said, Im yovo Esav el hamachna ho'achas, if it's recording going. If Esav comes to the one encamp, v'hikahu, and he smites it, the remaining camp will remain and may still escape. So we have here a description of Yaakov. Yaakov sends messengers to Esav, and he receives word that Esav is coming to meet him, and we see that he starts to panic, and he begins making preparations. What is the nature of this report is a matter of a lot of discussion amongst the commentaries. We're going to take a look right now and see Rashi. Rashi presents the traditional reading, an understanding of what exactly here is transpiring between Yaakov and Esav. What does Rashi say? So this is source number 2. Ba'onu elochicha el Esav. We have come to your brother, we have come to Esav. So this is the messengers. They're bringing back the report. And this is what they're saying transpired. This is what Esav told them. Shehayisa omer achihu. You said that he's my brother. You refer to him as your brother. Avuhu noheg imacha ke'esav harasha. However, he's not operating under the principle of brotherhood. Rather, he's operating under the with the protocol of Esav harasha, Esav the wicked man. Odenu b'sina, so he still hates you. So he divides up the camp, and he said that the camp that remains will be able to escape. Why? Al korcho ki ilochem imo. This is against his will because he said I must fight with him. So therefore, how does he prepare? Rashi explains. Rashi tells us Hiskin asmo lishlosha dvarim. He can prepare himself in 3 different ways. L'doram, he sent gifts. Litzfila, he prayed. As we see that immediately following this, he starts saying, Hashem, please help me, save me from Esav. Ula milchama, and he also plans for battle. And he divides his encampment, he divides his people into 2 separate encampments, so that should one be attacked, the other will still have means of escape. So, according to Rashi, what are we describing? 20 years have passed. Esav hasn't changed. Esav is still full of hatred. He's still furious. He's still dangerous. He's still unforgiving. And Yaakov is terrified. And it's justifiable that he would be quite afraid, because he's now being told that Esav is approaching him with an armed militia of 400 individuals who are coming to attack him. And who is he? What is his encampment like? He's the ultimate civilian target. He's a man with 4 women, 12 children, some slaves, and a whole lot of cattle, a whole lot of flocks. This is the ultimate civilian target that's being, that now has, that a militia, a military force, has in their sights. And this is the way that we traditionally view this interaction here. Yaakov is the innocent victim, and there's an atmosphere of impending tragedy. And it's therefore, with a sense of great uncertainty, perplexion, surprise, that we read about how Esav actually greets Yaakov. Arina, how does he greet Yaakov?
I forget.
How about David? Do you know how he greets him?
Very warmly and welcoming.
He gives him a bear hug.
Yeah.
Right? He gives him a bear hug. He gives him a hug. He gives him a kiss. He's transformed from an angry, violent, murderous hunter, and he now has become this doting uncle who expresses love and admiration for his nephews, and is expressing brotherhood. He's expressing achva. So what exactly has changed? What is the source of this transition within Esav? Esav evolves. We start off with Rashi describing him as being angry, furious, unforgiving, and prepared to do battle. And when he meets him, what does he do? He shows forgiveness. He shows brotherhood. He shows care, concern. He shows love, dare I say it. So what exactly is going on over here? How do we understand this shift? What changed in Esav?
Was there maybe a misreading of the messenger?
Okay, that's one. What we're going to see right away is a different reading of the interaction. According to the Rashbam, who's Rashi's grandson, things are markedly different. And that's going to be source number 3. Take a look. That's on page number 2. So this is the Rashbam. And the Rashbam, again, is not the traditional reading of these verses, but perhaps it is reflected within the text itself, as we're going to see. Banu Elochicha el Esav. So the messengers come and say to Yaakov, we came to your brother, we met your brother, umatzasa chen be'einav kasher omarta, and you have found grace in his eyes. You have appeased him. And in the midst of his joy in your coming and his love for you, he's coming to meet you. And he's bringing a entourage of people to celebrate. 400 people. And they're doing this to honor you. According to the Rashbam, Esav seems to have moved on. Esav is now conciliatory. Esav is happy that he's coming, and that's the report that's given to Yaakov. Esav is happy, he's joyous, he's celebrating, and he's coming to greet you with a large contingent of people to really throw the largest party you've ever experienced. Yaakov. However, Yaakov was afraid. Belibo, he feared in his heart. Even though Esav demonstrated to the messengers that he was gathering his 400 people together in order to celebrate Yaakov's arrival, hu lo he'emin. Yaakov did not believe them. He did not believe shemachshavas Esav letova. He did not believe that Esav's intent was for good, ella l'ra'ah. He rather thought that Esav's intent was for ill. So we have here, according to the Rashbam, a very different picture of Yaakov and Esav.
So it begs the question why he bothers sending messengers in the first place. Because even if they bring back a good report, he doesn't trust it.
Well, the messengers, if you recall, were not so much only to ascertain, to give the gifts, right, and to carry a message. But anyway, so we have a very different reading here. Does the text tolerate this reading? If we were to read through the psukim, what would they indicate to us? What would we say? Well, reading through the psukim that we just read before, that we start off the class with, it's rather ambiguous. All we see from the text is that Yaakov sends messengers. Esav, they bring back a report. Esav is on his way. Nothing is said about Esav's frame of mind. There's no indication within the verses themselves that tell us where his headspace was. So then how can we get a glimpse of Esav's frame of mind? Where can we ascertain what it was that Esav's what were Esav's intentions? Can we see that from anywhere? Perhaps we can see it from what David was mentioning earlier, and what Ilan also said. The bear hug. We see from the greeting what Esav's frame of mind was, at least according to the Rashbam, that we can therefore go back based on what we just saw and say that perhaps this reflects the Pshuto Shel Mikra, as the Rashbam says, the simple reading of the text.
So in this case, the messengers, they got the picture that he was nice. So
Yes.
that's the reason why
Right.
they transmitted that message to him, to put him maybe at ease, that actually he's not coming on a warrior way of thinking.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Very good. So let's take a look at actually and to see Esav's actions and his activities and what he says. What does he say? Vayishlach-Yaakov einav. Yaakov raised his eyes. Vayar, he saw. V'hine Esav ba'imo. V'arba meos ishimo. Vayachatz as hayolodim al leah v'al rachav al shtei hashefachos. He divides up the people into two separate groups. Vayosem es hashefachos al yaldehen. Rishona v'es leah v'yolodeho achronim. So what does he do here? So he now, instead of dividing the camp into two separate encampments, he just divides up his kids into two groups. And he has them walk towards Esav. V'hu over lifnehem. And Yaakov walks, before them. He sort of walks down that path in the middle and precedes them. Vayishtachavu arsa sheva pa'amim. And he bows down on the ground 7 times. Ad gishto ad ochiv, until he finally reaches his brother. Vayaratz Esav likraso. Esav runs to meet him. Vayichabekehu, and he hugs him. Vayipal al tzavaro, he puts his head on his neck. Vayishalkehu, he kisses him. Vayivku, and they cried. Vayisas Einov, and he saw the children. He raised his eyes. Vayaras hanashim v'asayolodim. So Esav raised his eyes and he saw the women. He saw the children. Vayomer, he says, Mi elalach, who are these? He's surprised. He's perhaps delighted. Vayomer hayolodim asher chanan elokim es avdecha. These are the children that Hashem has graced me with. And so we see here that there's this, perhaps within the text itself, it reflects what the Rashbam says, that he was joyous, he was happy, and he was excited to see his brother and his brother's family. And then we also see a similar attitude in how Esav responds to the offering of the gifts. Because what does Esav say? Vayomer Esav, and this is source number 5, page number 3, Yeshli Rav, I have so much already. Achi, my brother, Yehi Lecha Asher Lach. What's yours should remain yours. So he even refers to him as my brother. You see over here in the tone that he takes, that he's being gracious, he's being conciliatory. And then also, not only that, but in source number 6, he suggests that they combine their peoples together. Vayomer Nisa v'nelcha, let us travel and let us go. And I will go at your pace. We can join our camps and we can march together. Seemingly, again, Esav is acting with calm, he's acting congenially, and he's really, really showing that he's moved on. So then who's the one who's stuck in the past in this case? According to Rashi, Esav is the one who's stuck in his hatred. According to the Rashbam, who's stuck? Yaakov, right, exactly. Yaakov seems to have a lot of misplaced fear. So if the Rashbam is correct in his reading, as we're saying, perhaps the text even reflects, why is Yaakov so paranoid? Why is he so distrustful? Yaakov seems to be living in the past, whereas Esav seems to be getting over it. So we have to ask the question, what is fueling Yaakov's fear? So that on one side is Rashi, and we have the Rashbam. Two opposite readings of the narrative. So just to sum up everything that we've said so far, according to Rashi, Esav is a violent adversary who wants to exact revenge, kill Yaakov, and that has not changed at all. And Yaakov has to plan through war, through gifts, and through prayer, a way to assuage Esav's anger so that he can perhaps escape unharmed. But then we have to ask the question: then, what was it that caused the change in Esav that precipitated his greeting of Yaakov with joy, happiness, and that great big bear hug?
We're not really told that. Not
Oh,
clearly.
that's going to be the class. Don't worry.
So, how many years had it been?
20,
20.
possibly 21 at this point.
And there's no messenger, there's no WhatsApp, there's no email or Zoom. So they haven't been in touch.
Yeah, that's right. And as for the Rashbam, Esav seems to move on, but we have to, it's the opposite question. Why is Yaakov so stuck in the past? What is charging? What is powering this great fear and suspicion of Esav? So we're going to actually take a look. And this is just going to be a little bit of a digression, but it's an interesting approach because actually we have the Bechor Shor, Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor. He's a 12th century authority, and he actually gives a reading of the verses that is right smack in the middle. That is both Rashi and the Rashbam. So that's source number 7. Let's take a look. He says, "V'gam holech likrosacha v'arba meos ishimo." Esav is coming to meet you, and there are 400 men with him. So according to the Rashi, the report was they're coming and they're armed, they're coming to fight you. According to the Rashbam, they're coming to greet you. They're coming with the accoutrements of a party. What does, according to the Bechor Shor, Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor, what does he say? V'lo yodanu ma bedato im tov im ra. We don't know what his intent is. All we know is that he's bringing 400 men with him. Kilo hashivenu klum. He didn't answer us. He didn't tell us. He didn't respond to us and tell us what his intent is. Ela Amar. Rather, what did he say? Ani elech elov. I will go to him. Va'adabrimo. I will speak with him. Pe el pe, met face to face. V'kevan sha'adabrimo mahu omer lechem. And since I'm going to speak to him, why should I even bother talking to you? So according to the Bechor Shor, the messengers are coming back, saying, we don't know what his intent is. So, Vayetzar lo, he says, and he was greatly distressed. Ki lo yada malasos. Yaakov here was greatly distressed. What was the source of the distress? He did not know what to do. Because if he knew that Esav's intent was for ill, he would have facilitated some kind of salvation for himself. Livroach, to run away. Or to go into one of the local walled cities. And therefore he could escape from Esav there. However, now, I don't know what his intent is. If he's coming to hurt me, I could run away. But if he's coming to give me honor, to give me kavod, to throw that party, well then, im yivrach yasim lo le v'yira lo derech sina. Well then he's now going to come to hate me because I'm rejecting his outreach, as it were. So therefore, what was the source of his distress, according to this, is that he did not know what to do because he was unsure of Esav's intention. So that is the Bechor Shores. And this precipitated him having to send gifts and to pray and then to make battle plans. And there's actually a midrash that reflects the Bechor Shor, that talks about this uncertainty. The Midrash Tanchuma tells us that the messengers that Yaakov sent were dressed in white cloaks. They were dressed in white robes, but underneath they were dressed in armor with weapons, which shows the uncertainty that he was prepared to make peace, but also fight if necessary. The Midrash seems to echo what the Bechor Shor says, and that is that there was uncertainty. It wasn't clear what Esav's intentions were, and so Yaakov had to respond by ensuring that whatever the eventuality was, he had a plan, and he had some way to meet the challenge. So that's the Bechor Shor, but that, as I said before we started, that's a little bit of a digression. Really, we're going to be focusing on Rashi and the Rashbam. And so now we're going to answer the questions that we asked. So let's return to Rashi. Rashi has to explain how it was that Esav switches from being very aggressive to being very affectionate. So if we're going to assert that a change has taken place in Esav, we have to pinpoint some moment within the narrative where that change takes place. There was something that prompted that evolution within Esav. So what would that pivotal moment have been? Well, if we were to read through the narrative, there are 5 different points or candidates for what precipitated that change within Esav. The first is Yaakov's prayer. It's possible that Yaakov, when he prayed, said, Hashem, please save me from Esav. It's possible that Hashem answered, and there was some kind of divine intervention where Esav sort of decided that he would no longer hate Yaakov. That's one possibility. It's possible also that the gifts were effective. Esav's anger was assuaged by the copious amounts of money that he had just been handed. It's possible that Yaakov's bowing, as we read earlier, he bowed 7 times as he greeted Esav. Perhaps that act of supplication and where he humbled himself before Esav was effective in changing Esav's mind. Possibly the sight of the children was what everybody loves kids. Everybody loves children. Maybe Esav also had a soft spot for little kids. Who knows? But there's one last enigmatic possibility, and this is really what we're going to be focusing on, because Rashi himself seems to indicate this as well, and that is the fight at night, Vayovek ish imo, where there's some unnamed assailant, a ish, a man who's referred to, but is possibly an angelic, godly being that fights with Yaakov. Perhaps that in some way, in some capacity, precipitated a change in Esav. So,
How did Esav know about that?
well, that's the thing. Who was that? Who was that ish?
Oh, okay.
Rashi tells us that the key to Esav's metamorphosis was the fight with that man. Who was that man? Well, that man is an angel. And which angel specifically? Saro shel Esav. This is Esav's alter ego, Esav's representative angel, or possibly even his metaphysical manifestation. So how
What does that mean?
It means that in some spiritual way, that was a representation of Esav. Esav was able to, in some way, project some aspect of himself that Yaakov met on the bank of the Wadi Yavok. That's what Rashi says.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
Okay, well, we don't have to understand everything, but there was some spiritual phenomenon that took place where some spiritual representation of Esav interacted and fought with Yaakov that very night. Are you familiar with the story of Yaakov wrestling with the angel?
Yeah, this is the one where he got injured on his.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
When he went back to get the little jars, and he was left alone, and then he fought with the angel.
Right. So one thing there's actually interesting to say about this approach is that there's a certain level of symmetry. Yaakov's daytime reunion of Esav is very parallel to his meeting with the angel at night. One seems to provide the resolution to the other. Yaakov battles Esav's soul at night, and Yaakov wins, and as a result, the morning is emptied of all its tension. Is there any textual support for this idea that Rashi says? Is there any way that that this could be indicated within the psukim, within the verses themselves, that this man, as he's referred to in the verses, is some kind of angelic being who is a representative of Esav? I think so. Let's take a look at these psukim. What?
That's very interesting.
Right.
Which one is that?
So we'll take a look in a second. Okay,
Which number are you on?
Verse number 9.
Well, we're going to actually take a look at number 8. We're going to take a look and see that that Yaakov places a lot of focus on meeting Esav face to face. Face to face interactions seem to be really, really important, and there's a language that's used that we're going to see has symmetry throughout everything that we're going to read about. So let's take a look over here. This is source number 8. Va'amartem gam hine avdecha Yaakov acharenu. Ki omar achapra fanav b'mincha ha'huleches lefanai va'achrechein era panav ulayisa fanai. So here we see right away that he's talking about his interactions with Esav when he's setting off the messengers, and he says, this will be an atonement before him, b'fanav, and after that I will meet him his face to my face. So we see that face to face. There's a literary allusion here. Okay. Now when this root against resurfaces in parallel, because after Yaakov has vanquished his adversary, after he fights with this man on the shores of the Wadi Yabok, what does he say? This is source number 9. Vayikra Yaakov Shem HaMokum Pniel. This is the face of God. Ki ro'isi Elokim, because I've seen God, or something angelic, something mystical, something spiritual. Panim el panim, face to face. V'tinotzel nafshi, and my soul has been saved. So we see that there's a language parallel between his meeting with Esav, and there's a language, and that language is paralleled in his interactions with this angelic being. Now also, if you take a look, when Yaakov meets Esav, he makes a comment that's very reflective of this as well. Take a look at source number 10. Vayomer Yaakov, Alna imno matzasichein be'einacha v'lokachta min chasim yadi. He's trying to convince Esav, take my gift, ki al kein ru'isi fanecha ki ru'os pnei Elokim vatirtzani. Because I have seen your face, and it's like the face of that angelic being, and you have been, you've received me favorably, is how it's translated. There's something about that angel and Esav that he says reminds him of. There's something about the angel, and there's something about Esav's face that reminds him of the angel, or vice versa, because he says the face of the God that I met, the face of that angelic being, is a face of God, as it were. Esav has that same face, and we see that faces are used to describe his interactions with the angel and his interactions with Esav as well. So we see that there's this very powerful parallel in the language that's used to describe all of these interactions. So perhaps there's an allusion here within the text itself. This is the source of Rashi, where he says that the angel was the Saro Shel Esav because his face and Esav's face are the same, and his meeting with Esav, his meeting with the angel, uses the same language. So in some way, he's meeting Esav at night, even if Esav physically is not there. So that's one way that we see that there's a linguistic connection between this angel and Esav. And you also find the same language is used again. If you want to take a look at source 11, right? It talks about it over here. Your name will no longer be called Jacob, rather it should be Israel. Ki sarisa im Elokim v'im anoshim v'tuchal, because you've contended both with angels and with man. Perhaps it's the same angels, perhaps it's the man. Maybe it's one and the same here. V'tuchal, and you have been successful. So that's one way in which we see that there's this connection between this individual and Esav. Now, also, Yaakov is spared from the struggle with the man at night. And the same word that's used to describe how he's saved from the angel, or how he saves himself, is, it says, Vayinatzel. But you also find that the same word is used when he prays to be saved from Esav. V'hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. So we find that there's another linguistic parallel in how he prays to be saved from Esav, and he's saved from the angel. He pleads for salvation from Esav, and he's saved from the angel. The same phrase is used for both, again, alluding to the fact that there is some connection between Esav and this angel. In the Bina Bamikra, there's an allusion between there's a visual parallel between the angel and Esav. Two people who are grappling with each other and two people who are hugging each other. How different does that look?
Very different.
Not really.
Oh. From the outside, it looks different. You only see it from the inside. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
From the outside, it looks
Say that
different.
again, Rabbi. Say that again.
If I were to start wrestling with Ephraim, he will have his arms around me, and I'll have his arms around him like this.
Yeah, that's wrestling, yeah.
That looks like a hug.
Oh.
It does look
To a
similar.
person who, from to the outside, it looks like two people who are embracing each other. If you've ever watched Mongolian wrestling, they actually literally put their arms around each other and try to shove each other from side to side.
That's hot.
Yeah, well, no, that's what's Mongolian wrestling. They're literally hugging each other, trying to push the other over.
You got it?
So there's a
True.
No, you got it?
I got it.
so again there's this parallel with him wrestling with the angel and hugging Esav. It's almost as though it's saying that the wrestle with the angel was able to precipitate the hug with Esav. And finally, so where are we going with all of this? So how was it? What was the mechanism by which the fight with the angel was able to maybe resolve things with Esav that brought about that reconciliation the next day?
Changing his name.
Well, let's take a look because let's take a look. So let's take a look at source number 12.
What did you say, Rabbi? What
I
did
said
you
they were changing his name.
Well, we'll say it's not the changing the name. It's more than that. Let's take a look. Vayomer shalcheni. The angel said, "Let me go." He says, "Send me off." Ki Allah hashachar, because the morning has risen, the dawn has arisen. Vayomer And what did Yaakov say? Lo ashalechacha, I will not send you, I will not allow you to go, ki im beirachtani, unless you bless me. So Rashi connects this beirachtani with another bracha. What's the most important bracha associated with the relationship of Esav and Yaakov? What started their whole feud?
The blessing.
Oh, the firstborn.
He stole the blessing.
Right. So Rashi says that this is a reference to that bracha. Let's take a look at Rashi, which is source number 13. Beirachtani, he says, Hodali al habrachos. Concede the brachos. Shebeirachani avi, that my father blessed me. She'esav ma'ara alehem, which Esav is objects to. Essentially saying, I want him to admit and concede that the brachos are legitimately mine. And what does he say? He says in response, Lo Yaakov, lo yemer od shehabrachos ba'u lecha ba'akeva. It will no longer be said that the brachos came to you through trickery, uremia, and through deceit. Ki'im bisrora v'gilui panim. Rather, they came through noble conduct, and it came in an open manner. So, the drama of the nighttime struggle is essentially the final chapter in the struggle over the Bechor bracha. It's in that nighttime struggle, Esav's metaphysical identity concedes the blessings to Jacob. And now that the argument has been settled, the brothers can reunite peacefully. So according to Rashi, what was it? What was the catalyst? What was the pivot? What changed Esav? It was the resolution of the feud when he finally conceded, yes, the brachos are legitimately yours. They're yours and they're done. It's over.
Did he get any?
He got a bracha.
He got some?
He got a bracha, yeah. He did.
So what did he get?
He got a bracha that he will live by the sword, and that his land will be quite wealthy. Okay, so that's Rashi, and now so we've answered the question in Rashi. We're now explaining what was the transition, what changed within Rashi. According to Rashi, it was the resolution of the feud over the brachos when this manifestation of Esav finally conceded the brachos to Yaakov. Okay, so let's return to the Rashbam. Esav remains consistently friendly throughout the narrative. So if we adopt this reading, then we have to suggest, I'm going to suggest something, that perhaps there's a change, not in Esav, but there's a change now within Yaakov. After all, the giving of a new name, according to the Torah, indicates a change in identity. There's something new about Yaakov now that he's received this name. So what's this new identity? Well, on a basic level, what does his name Yaakov refer to? It refers to the fact that he was trying to grab hold of his brother because he wanted to achieve the firstborn. And now he's Yisrael. Now he's a winner. But is he really a loser? Was he a winner? He wasn't a loser. He got the right of the firstborn. He got the brachos. He was able to succeed against Lavan, albeit through using trickery. But he wasn't a loser. He was a winner. So perhaps the Yaakov name here is not a reference to him losing and now winning, but rather it connotes something else. If you recall, when Yaakov was able to take the brachos, what is the text? What does it say? It says in note 14, I'm just going to read it in English. Esav said, was he then named Yaakov that he might supplant me these 2 times? First he took my birthright, and now he's taken away my blessings. So this Yaakov here is not a reference to the heel that he grabbed hold of. Rather, it's a reference to trickery and deceit, underhanded methods. And so, in the sense, the name Yisrael comes from the root Yashar. He's no longer the person who takes things through underhanded methods. Rather, he takes things through upright and direct conduct. So let's explain this let's flesh this out a little bit more. Yaakov is the one who goes through a transformation. One aspect of Yaakov's personality was that he seems to avoid direct confrontation. Throughout the entire narrative, he's always acting stealthily and sometimes with subterfuge. Right? He steals the brachos. He tricks his father instead of having a conversation with him. He acts somewhat underhandedly or behind the scenes in his interactions with Lavan, and he only engages in a direct confrontation when Lavan precipitates it. He seems to avoid direct confrontation, and this forces him to engage in meticulous planning but that planning also involves a certain dimension of deception frequently. So now Yaakov is making contact with Esav, and it appears that his fears of direct confrontation are subsiding because he's now sending gifts and he's sending messengers saying, "Hey, I'm coming to visit you." But on a closer look, we see that perhaps he's now attempting to avoid interacting with Esav again. We see here that he's perhaps acting in that underhanded manner because he's perhaps attempting to escape. And we see this again within the Rashbam himself. Remember, we're trying to answer the question according to the Rashbam. We're trying to explain Yaakov's frame of mind. So we're going to continue with the Rashbam, and we're going to take a look at the final source here. What does it say?
Rabbi, can I say something?
Yeah.
Is it true Jacob's mother helped him to lie to his father? Right?
Yes, he did, yes.
Because she saw in the clothes. Because
right, yes.
No, Yaakov, Asav was
very hairy, yes.
And she put to feel it because he was blind. Is it true or not true?
You're correct. That's what the Torah says. Yes.
Yeah, but he really never lied or did anything.
Well,
because he did sell his bracha.
But did he? Yeah, yes, you're right. You're right. But at a certain level, did he tell his father, "You should give me the bracha because I bought the bechorah"? He didn't. He said, "Is that my son Esav?" And he said, "It's me."
It was misleading.
He was misleading, even if he wasn't perhaps outright lying. He was still deceiving him.
Did they have the same voice?
Well, that's actually what that's what Yitzchak comments on. The hands are the hands of Esav, but the voice is the voice of Jacob.
Was the father also deaf?
No,
he was blind.
He was blind.
Well, he was blind, but.
But that's what he commented on. It sounds like Jacob, but it feels like Esav. He said that.
Okay.
But let's take a look.
Sorry, Rabbi.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Rashbam. He says, after he had transferred all of his belongings to the other side of the river, so that he was the only one still to be brought across. That the only one still to be brought across was himself. The reason that he wanted to cross only after everyone else had already crossed was because that he intended to flee in a different direction so as to avoid a face-to-face encounter with Esav. According to the Rashbam, Yaakov was falling back into his regular modus vivendi, or modus operandi, which is to avoid direct confrontation. He was planning on running away. So Ye'avek is that the angel engaged him in a physical fight. His purpose was to prevent Yaakov from fleeing. Only in this way could God's promise to Yaakov that Esav would not harm him would be fulfilled. So according to the Rashbam, the problem with Yaakov was that he continued to act in a rather surreptitious, perhaps even underhanded manner, avoiding direct conflict and confrontation. So Yaakov again is running away. He's avoiding his meeting with Esav. And it's precisely because of this that Hashem sends the angel to intervene. We might even say that Hashem is coming to teach Yaakov a lesson. He orchestrates a fight face to face, after which Yaakov can receive the accolade Yisrael, because he can struggle, and he's now being taught that you can struggle against God, against angel, you can struggle against man, and you can be successful. Yaakov needs to go through this transition because he's about to enter the land of Israel, and he's about to found the Jewish people. The Jewish people beforehand was just a family that was in transit. Here, once they enter Eretz Yisrael, it would no longer be Yaakov and his family. This would be the generation of Am Yisrael. So Hashem was teaching him, you need to stop operating like Yaakov. You need to be Yisrael. You need to stop acting in an underhanded, surreptitious manner, and be prepared to confront people face to face. And when it comes down to it, this is exactly what Yaakov had to learn, and this is what he did. He needed to realize that he didn't need props, he didn't need bribes, he didn't need prayers, he didn't need war strategies. All he needed to do was confront Esav with confidence and have trust that Hashem would protect them, because that was what Hashem had promised him. Yaakov is going to be the covenantal leader and the founder of the future nation, and he therefore has to start operating as Yisrael and be prepared. And here he was taught this lesson and acted on it to confront Esav face to face in an open manner, in a manner that is yashar, full of conviction and full of confidence. And that is perhaps the primary lesson here, according to the Rashbam. So just to recap everything we said so far. According to Rashi, Esav wanted to harm Yaakov, and it was the fight with the angel that was able to resolve the feud with the concession of the blessings. According to the Rashbam, Esav never wanted to harm Yaakov. Yaakov was stuck in the past, and he was stuck in a operating procedure, and he needed to be taught that this is no longer the conduct for you. You must operate in a different way, and this was precipitated also through the fight with the angel. The fight of the angel gives him the accolade Yisrael, because now you have understood this message, this lesson, to act biyashrus, with directness, with straightness, and it is no longer necessary for him to operate with this in a deceitful manner, with subterfuge, and to just to act with confidence. And that concludes our class today. Yasher Tov, everyone.
That was really good.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good.
I have a comment,